Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name.
What is really going on, Crypto Savages? This is your host, C. Edward Kelso, Editor-in-Chief out at CoinSpice.io, back with another episode of the CoinSpice podcast. And this time around, I've got Chief Operating Officer of the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy, Nick Tucker. Sometimes you just want to go to a place where everybody knows your name. Cryptocurrency is at once a community. It's an online, vibrant place, digital cities all over. We're certainly, borderless. But sometimes you really do want that human interaction, especially if you're new. But even if you're not new to cryptocurrency, and you have, say, more technical questions or whatever, and you're tired of reading or trying to ferret out that bit of information, you really want a place, a physical place to go where you can ask questions. And Bitcoin meetups accomplish that for sure, but also having a permanent place that's around, that's in town, that you can find, and that's just it's incalculable. It's so valuable. So it's been a year plus that the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy has been up and running, and I was one of the first to write about it back then, and I wanted to sort of check in again and see how things were going, especially in a quote unquote bear market. They began in the rush and the really the height of the bubble back in late 2017. So it's nice to kind of see where they are now. Has everything crashed around them? Have they had to contract? I have seen. Well, you'll listen, and you'll hear from Nick himself. A brief warning about the interview. I was unusually frazzled, and I'm not sure why. There was just so much to talk about, and I had my list because I'm a podcast professional. I had my list of things to talk about, and I violated my own list, and I was jumping around. So my apologies. That has nothing to do with Nick. Nick's an awesome guest, and he was just kind of going where I was leading him. So if it sounds like I'm all over the place, it's because I'm all over the place. Anyway, that's what you get for being super excited about this stuff. Without any further ado, sit back, grab yourself a tall glass of milk again if you want the whole vegan, almond, soy option. Not judging you, but it's gonna get spicy! Without any further ado, here is Nick Tucker, Chief Operating Officer of the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy.
What is really going on, Crypto Savages? You are listening to the CoinSpice podcast with host C. Edward Kelso, Editor-in-Chief at CoinSpice.io, your home for spicy crypto things on the net.
Before we get, kind of into the formal interview here, I have the distinction, at least I'm giving that to myself. I am a grade A narcissist of being, I think, the first person to write about the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy back when I was the news desk at .com. So this is a long time coming. That was over a year ago, right? So how are things down at the embassy?
It's great, man. Yeah, that's again, we really appreciate you writing that article for us back in the day. Maybe we can credit you with a good bit of the embassy getting off the ground here, man, because we're and things have been going incredible. I feel like really around November or maybe December of this year is when we really busted through the ceiling and have just blown up. Every week we're getting new members, more events every day, sponsors coming in every month. We're really rocking here, especially in the last 4 months. So things have really started to take off.
That is fantastic to hear, and really counter to what I think most people maybe would have thought, that at the height of the bubble, something like in late 2017 would have been something like the Bitcoin Embassy would have just blown up. And then, maybe now it would be kind of a different story. And I guess we'll get into why you think that is the case, or might believe that to be the case. But before we get there, I always do in these silly things, I always jump way ahead of of the listeners. So let's start off with a little bit about yourself. How did you get into cryptocurrency, and then we'll kind of get to the embassy and being in Atlanta and so on. But how did you actually find crypto?
Well, I was introduced to it back when, I guess I was about 15. This was December of 2013. I actually received Bitcoin as a Christmas present. And I remember at the time actually not being that excited about it, even though it was like $500 in Bitcoin. But now, of course, like I get annoyed when I get any other kind of Christmas present. I'd much rather get Bitcoin than anything else. But yeah, I was introduced to it in 2013. Didn't really understand fully its potential until maybe late 2014. And then I was that annoying friend that everyone has for like a few years there, just constantly talking about Bitcoin, but never really fully jumping into it. So this is my first real project in the crypto sector. And yeah, so far it's just been amazing.
And so how do you eventually get to, I mean, Georgia and Atlanta in particular, but Georgia just seems like not the place that I would think of in, ever really, when I think of cryptocurrency. So how do you get there?
Well, I mean, I was here for a software job, a software service company. I was doing sales until late December 2017. I think that Atlanta actually is a little bit of a better spot for cryptocurrency than people might assume. One, we are like an incredible tech hub. There's all kinds of amazing startups here. It's funny, like I use all these amazing software products all the time, and sometimes I'll Google it and it'll turn out, random company like Calendly or something I use all the time. It's like right down the street from us, their headquarters.
Wow.
So yeah, there's all kinds of amazing companies popping up here, but also Atlanta has this really unique kind of hustle culture, and really wants to kind of do things on their own, would rather get out and start their own business than maybe working for a traditional company in just a sales role or something. So honestly, I think the idea of cryptocurrency and owning your own money really does speak to the city in kind of a special way. But beyond that, Edward, we're actually one of the highest unbanked cities in the country, second to only Phoenix and like one or two others.
Wow.
Something that's really incredible is outside of Atlanta, those numbers absolutely skyrocket. So we're already high at about 9.5% unbanked within the city. But as you get outside the city, that number jumps up all the way to like 35, 40%. So these are the people that need cryptocurrency. These are the people that there's a very real value proposition today for why they should use Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, whatever it is. I don't feel like the value proposition is actually as strong for people that are banked. So we're finding that this is a great group to go after, and it's just easy for them. They get it immediately. They understand why they would need this kind of tech, as opposed to some people who see it as just like a little too complicated for them. And if you got a credit card, why go through the pain?
Right. That, now that you're saying it, it makes a ton of sense. And Atlanta is known as a fantastic sports town, an unbelievable place for music and culture, but it's also heavily African American. And I would love to get, it's a place where you could find middle class African Americans, going about their daily lives and all the rest of the expression of what that might mean. How do you again, this is two white guys talking about African American experience, but how does, so again, I'm jumping ahead here. So you're in an African American city, you open up this, let's start here. What is the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy? Now, I think some people, probably already have an idea, but why do you need a physical space first?
I really think it's absolutely necessary for an embassy to work, especially if you're trying to reach really new users. It's extremely difficult to learn about this stuff online. Even if you have a go-to place online, it's hard to win over people. They just don't trust this tech already. So selling yourself as the expert on this stuff is extremely difficult unless you're there in front of them to actually win them over. And really build some rapport with them. So I think it's absolutely necessary to have a space like this in person. It allows people to come by anytime. We have all kinds of fun events that we can do, 2 or 3 times a week, but also we're open 40, 50 hours a week where people can just stop by on their lunch break.
That's so important. So important. And then they could just come in and just say, hey, you're Mr. Bitcoin, right? And you have to kind of disabuse them of that. And, oh, this is the offices of Bitcoin. And, but I mean, you can actually, help them download a wallet and stuff, right?
Absolutely. It's funny. Even something like that can be extremely complicated for people. So honestly, that's a lot of what I do. Is just like giving out Bitcoin and getting them to download that first wallet. But, it gets more technical too. Some people are really trying to get help with their blockchain startup. Some people are learning, serious trading. They want to understand the fundamentals of how Bitcoin works. Some people really do want to take it farther. And for me, that's what I really enjoy doing. Is bringing people into our all-day workshops where we get really serious with this stuff and really help them fully understand and start really owning the stuff in a responsible way, right? That's also kind of a huge problem. Is a lot of people own Bitcoin, but they don't actually own their own keys, or they're not being smart about privacy or security, whatever it is. So that's like a huge thing we focus on. First time coming through the embassy, learning what it means to own Bitcoin, how it's different from a bank, and what you need to be successful in the sector.
And you guys have
I think it's hard to really teach someone all that stuff online.
I totally
kind of a boot camp or training program. I think you really need to be there in person for it to work.
You also have some badass consulting people. Like I saw David Vexler's on there. We just actually at CoinSpice reprinted or I should say republished Michael Tidwell's Lightning Network experience. So you guys have some real heavy hitters there. So it's not just, for what we call the noobs, the new people who come in and want some basic questions, but you actually kind of, it seems to me like you run the gamut. So you get, like you say, people who just want to download a wallet, but also those who maybe have some crypto and want to better their security. You can kind of run the full gamut, right?
Totally. We have it's always been my goal to have every one of my bases covered for consulting. If you come to the embassy with any kind of question or niche, whether it's in crypto, blockchain tech, Bitcoin, we should have someone that can help you with that. At this point, we really do have every single base covered, whether it's taxes, blockchain development, wallet recovery, trading, whatever it is, we can help you with it. So yeah, that's been kind of a goal from the beginning, is to be the central hub for all things Bitcoin and blockchain tech in Atlanta. And I'm thrilled. We're really starting to become exactly that.
And you guys just had I saw there was a conference actually that was just held. You guys were a part of that, right? Atlanta Bitcoin.
This is a TabConf. It's I am so proud of this conference. It's because of Michael Tidwell is 100% the reason that's been so successful. It's one of the only blockchain, crypto, or Bitcoin conferences that I know of that can say they actually almost doubled from 2017.
Wow.
Every other conference I've attended has been down significantly in numbers. This almost doubled. And so I think next year is going to be even more of a hit. It's extremely cheap, great bang for your buck. It was just a total blast for us. So we're going to keep on doing that year after year.
Yeah, it's that personal connection, I think, that will seal the deal. So you find crypto online, you maybe download a wallet from a nice, easy site, and you get some crypto, and then you're just like, well, now what the hell do I do with it? And if you're in the Atlanta area, you can bump into Nick down at the embassy. You can walk in and talk to other people that are there, and ask the stupid questions that maybe you might not want to have asked online, or you just can't, you just don't have the vocabulary yet to ask the right questions, or didn't even know you should ask certain questions. And again, so we've established that what the Bitcoin Embassy is a physical space that people can go to and interact with cryptocurrency, which is wonderful. But I also like the fact, and you have a unique position that I hinted at earlier and got sort of ahead of myself, as I tend to do, is that you have a connection with the African-American community there. And I've noticed that there have been, special outreaches, or at least an embracing by the African-American community there of the Bitcoin Embassy. Is that a pretty good characterization of what's happening?
Sure. People think that I'm doing like special programs to, reach out to Black people or get the Black community or culture involved with the embassy. Well, of course it's true. Like I love having Black people in the embassy. It's awesome. It's never something I've really like focused on or tried to do. It's kind of just our reality. Like if you've ever been to Atlanta, this place is at least 50% Black.
Right.
And frankly, those are the people that are kind of interested in this kind of thing, especially like a new money that they control that really speaks to the Black culture here in Atlanta. So it's honestly never something I've really focused on. It's kind of just been our reality and who comes through the embassy. At every cocktail hour, workshop, book club, it's at least 50% Black. It's a very diverse crowd. So I've started to kind of hold some events to kind of cater to that. Like, for example, recently we just partnered with the African American and Minority Cryptocurrency Association, which is an awesome group here in Atlanta. And it's kind of interesting why something like this exists, why a certain group of people feels like they need to go off into their own niche, why they need to feel the need to actually segregate like that. And it's kind of something that's actually concerned me since I got into Bitcoin, why like women in blockchain exist, African Americans in crypto, why do they need to go off into these niches? Frankly, it's just because they don't feel like totally comfortable coming to a place like called an embassy in Midtown. Like traditionally, they just don't feel like they're welcome at those kind of places. Of course, we're more than happy to have literally anyone at the embassy. We're not like that at all. But traditionally, they're a little bit afraid of like just making the trip. They assume it's going to be expensive parking. They're going to have to dress really nice. They're going to be on edge. They don't feel like it's going to be a chill environment. So a goal for me since starting the embassy has just been make it as open as possible. There are no dumb questions. Anyone and everyone is welcome. And let's make Bitcoin cool. You know, this should be fun. It should be sexy. It should be a good time. It shouldn't be boring and overly technical and just like presentation after presentation. There's definitely ways to make Bitcoin a good time. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here in Atlanta.
Yeah, I can see that. There was a video of a sophomore high school class that was real interesting to watch. I saw just snippets of it in prepping for our episode today, and it was really interesting to watch the kids, the high school kids, some of whom were African American. And that's really not my point. It's just that you exist in this environment, as you say, where through osmosis you're reaching people that, quite frankly, the Bitcoin community, the broader crypto community, has just not tapped into. And you know, I'm less concerned with the reasons for that than I am right now, just discussing how vital this work is, in the sense that if someone gravitates towards tech, it's real nice that they can have a physical place where they feel welcome, where there are people that are, you know, concerned about, you know, making sure that the kind of, like you say, that understand sort of the hustle side of Bitcoin, because we do tend to get lost in overly technical analysis, debates about, you know, different coding structures and so on, when, you know, I think that's kind of losing the fastball a bit. Whereas when you look at unbanked, whether it's, you know, African Americans or anybody else in the world, that really is where the energy should be going if you're into the currency side of cryptocurrency, because these are the people who will take to it almost immediately. And you're finding this, yeah?
Edward, they get it so quickly. I can't take that class you're talking about. It was the DeKalb Tech High School, a sophomore class, a bunch of 15 and 16-year-olds. They had never owned Bitcoin, not a single one of them. They all came into the office. We gave them a brief history of money, what cryptocurrency is, how it works, and then said, all right, we're going to get you to actually experience this. Download this app, pull up in this address, and we'll send you Bitcoin right here and now. I swear to God, within literally 30 seconds, I had like 10 kids surrounding me saying, here, give me my Bitcoin. Here's the address. It's faster than I've ever seen it done. I mean, especially younger people like this, they get it so quickly. But also, I think it's something special about Atlanta. They get the need for this. They deal with Cash App every single day. That's an extremely popular way to use money here in Atlanta. It just makes sense to them. And the idea that you don't have to connect a bank account, they're like, oh my God, thank goodness. I'm dealing with crap from, you know, SunTrust or whoever it is all the time. I'd love to get rid of my bank. So it immediately makes sense to them. I don't know. I'm honestly finding that it's not even, like we're trying to cater to a specific group or anything. It's just that these are the people that understand it. So a huge, huge goal for the embassy in 2019 is what we're calling our tour of Atlanta. It's going to be called a Bitcoin Normal. And so instead of just hanging out in Midtown, and, you know, bringing people here to the embassy. We're going to keep doing weekly events and all that. We're going to keep doing what made us popular in the first place. But my goal is to get outside of Midtown, get kind of to that outside of the perimeter area I was talking about, reach people that need Bitcoin here right now today. And it's a completely different pitch for these people too. They don't care about all the tech. They want to hear like, what is the actual value proposition? So we're kind of working right now to figure out how to pitch it to them. And hopefully we'll be setting up at least a weekly, you know, kickback or hanging out at a barbershop or something cool, either a merchant adoption event or a user adoption event to push wallet downloads. So that's kind of our big goal for 2019.
There are just so many parallels between what you're trying to do and a lot of the people in the space on the Bitcoin Cash side who are trying to work in places like Venezuela and others where there really is a push to get this functioning. And in the community that I represent or you know, claim to represent, there is too much tech talk, too much engineering talk, which again is not bad. There's certainly a very necessary vital place for it. But when you're speaking to someone whose country is literally falling apart and, you know, their society's collapsing around them, and I'm not saying that's, you know, what's happening in Atlanta, but the parallels are you do need to make it clear, fast, back of the envelope, elevator pitch. Here's what this does. You know, here's why it's important, rather than, you know, we have this, you know, technical mumbo jumbo, you know, according to the Genesis block, you can CTOR your way out of an op return. You know, just this loses people and they're done. Whereas you guys are actually going out and say, okay, who cares? Here, give me your phone. Let's do this. And then start using it, you know. So that's incredible.
How do you like explain if someone asks how the internet works? You don't like, you're like, what is the internet? You explain what it does, not how it actually technically works. That's what we're trying to do with Bitcoin. Like, what's the actual value proposition? I think we're really past. Like, this tech is 10 years old. We shouldn't still be talking about it like it's a brand new invention. Let's learn how to market it to people.
You know, Derek J. Freeman scolded me on that from AnyPay. He does a lot of the physical stuff too at the Bitcoin shop in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I was like, so we're still kind of early days. He's like, what are you talking about, dude? This has been around for 10 years now. You know, we're moving on now. And you both really do have a sincere point. I mean, it's time to get rocking. So that's
I'm disgusted at adoption. Like in the last 5 years, I'm really stunned at how little we've seen. You know, at the peak of 2017, I was just disgusted at what was going on. As soon as Bitcoin was getting popular, you know, it's getting super expensive to send. And I don't know, maybe that's what set us back. But I'm not particularly thrilled with what I've seen in the last 5 years. We should be making much greater progress. And I think it's really just about, reaching people that actually need it, people that understand the value prop and making it simple. And giving away Bitcoin. Like you mentioned Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin.com. Have you seen these golden ticket promotional?
Yeah, genius stuff. They do it at conferences and stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that might be the single coolest thing I've ever seen for mass adoption of Bitcoin. I mean, I've seen that at 2 conferences now in rooms with like 1,000 people. Suddenly 1,000 people get a wallet and scratch off that ticket and see if they can win, you know, $500 in Bitcoin Cash. That's just totally incredible to me. So making it easy and fun for people like that is definitely the key here. And I hope we see more of that in the next few years.
Yeah, that was a genius idea, is a genius idea. And a friend of mine was giving a talk, might have been at an Acapulco, I can't remember, recently though. And he was giving a talk, and they of course had those Bitcoin Cash physical tickets sitting on each seat, and people kind of didn't know what they were. And then at the end of his talk about Venezuela and the adoption push and Bitcoin Cash, you know, he did what you said, which is scratch off and go ahead and zap it into your phone and whatnot after you download a wallet. And then which was, you know, fantastic, and you hear the oohs and the ahs and everything, and people are like passing it around and whatever else. And then he said, you know what? And if this $5 or, you know, $3 or $20 or $10 or whatever doesn't mean anything to you, send it here to, and he put up on the slide, you know, Eat BCH, which is a charity literally on the ground in Venezuela, so that people could, you know, not only get it, zap some of it there. It's a killer idea. I'm glad you mentioned that. So speaking of 2017 and our relative disgust here at the adoption or lack thereof, I kind of hinted at it earlier in the discussion. You saw it wasn't a huge outpouring of love in the beginning for the Bitcoin, the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy, and you as you stated in the beginning, you've kind of seen a push more recently. Why? I mean, if it's ramping up to $20,000, my intuitive sense goes, everybody's going to be bursting into the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy to want to get a piece of this. But you're saying the exact opposite happened a year later.
Yeah, that's actually been one of the most surprising things about starting this group. It's exactly that. Like, it was actually difficult to get people to buy Bitcoin late 2017, early 2018. And now everyone is wanting to get in. It's the easiest thing in the world to get people to just purchase that first Bitcoin, put $100 in, whatever it is. So I don't really know what that's about, because, right, it's a cliche that people don't buy when it's low. It goes against your natural instincts. I don't really know what it's about, but I've been extremely proud of Atlanta. I don't know. I think the people that are paying attention to it now are taking it seriously. They're not seeing it as the investment of a lifetime, quote unquote, like people were calling it at the peak of 2017. They're actually being smart about it and starting to understand the tech for what it is. But yeah, beyond like the user side of things, it's also translated to sponsors. Like, it was incredibly difficult for our first 6 months to get people to come on board and believe in this kind of organic marketing in a community like in Atlanta. But now it's like, seriously, every month we're bringing on a couple new sponsors or partners with no problem at all. It could just be because we've been around a year now, but
right.
Also, I think the companies that are doing it right, the companies who are real in this sector, offering a real product, know that this is the time to build. It's the perfect time to get into these little communities and build a following around your product. Any company that's not working hard as hell, working their ass off in 2019, just doesn't get it. This is the biggest opportunity in this world, this kind of stagnant time to just build. And I think the smart companies are finally getting that. So we're getting to work with a ton of amazing new products. It's been a really fun year so far, the past couple months.
That is fantastic to hear, because at least in market theory, it's supposed to have, this last year or year more than a year, I guess, now has it's supposed to shake out the weaker hands, and we're supposed to have people who are a little bit more dedicated and a little bit more sober about its prospects. And so it's nice to hear that as a consequence of all that destruction, it makes it a little bit more approachable. And it's not a $20,000. Well, I can't buy a Bitcoin. You have to explain fractional parts of it. No, you can ask, but you've got to get into all that. Now it's down to earth a little bit, which has at least in your case, your embassy's case, a really nice outcome. Is the attraction to the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy, do you think, because you're, as I told you in the pre-interview here, you're ecumenical, you're sort of chain agnostic? I mean, I know you have your personal preferences, I'm sure, as everybody does, but that you don't say, hey, this is the one true blockchain to rule them all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really a free market guy at heart. Of course, that's why I love Bitcoin so much, and crypto technology it's like the real life application of all the things I actually believe in. So of course I believe in free market competition. I think what we're seeing now on CoinMarketCap, seeing 100 different amazing currencies, I think that's wonderful. I think they should all be able to battle it out, see who builds the best community, who's offering the best product. And I think we should be able to discuss them all. Of course, I would generally encourage people to put the vast majority of their investment into Bitcoin. Overall, that's been obviously the longest performing or the best performer overall.
Sure.
But I think we should be able to talk about cool new projects. That's something we do regularly in the embassy. Sometimes, our cocktail hours will actually take time and just review some new projects, see what's going on, maybe some new privacy coin. We were talking about Grin just a couple days ago. So I mean, I think we should be able to talk about it, all kinds of different stuff. Anyone who comes in there is totally rigid and actually gets angry about us discussing a current currency, a specific currency, I don't really understand it. I don't get why someone gets pissed off about what money you choose to use. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I think people should be able to try them all out, see what works best for them, and do their own thing.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a big reason as to why you guys will survive ultimately. because people will feel comfortable going in there and asking questions. If it's, again, censorship and tribalism in this space kind of go hand in hand, and it's really sad to see. But I'm glad that you're out there and you're open to pretty much everybody and taking them all in and letting people sort of experience this phenomenon. So that's fantastic. Before I let you go, because I've already kind of kept you over time here, where can people find you, find your work? Because you're not just a physical space, you're also online, right?
That's right. Yeah. So I mean, we have a pretty awesome Twitter. We're always tweeting out fun pictures, collaborations, announcements about events. If you're actually here in Atlanta, or even would just like to keep an eye on the events we're doing, Meetup's probably the best place, or just our website. But yeah, follow us on social. We've got a pretty cool following. You'll see lots of the cool projects and events we're doing. And especially as we start to, kick off this tour of Atlanta, we'll have at least a video every month or so kind of showing some kind of cool event. Maybe it's a merchant adoption event in a barbershop, just something kind of cool and engaging. So lots of cool stuff. Twitter and Facebook's probably the best place for all that. Very
nice. I'm waiting for Killer Mike to come by and hang out with you guys for a little bit. That would be incredible.
We'll get that on video, man. Yeah. Exactly.
All right, man. Well, I really appreciate all of your time. Thanks so much for coming on, and best to you and the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate the opportunity. Would love to do it again anytime.